Hey everyone, good evening. Can you hear me or see me? Can you please comment on the box if you can see me or hear me? Hello. Yes, cool. Hey, so welcome everyone. Thanks for coming in. Welcome to the welcome to the 13th edition of IGDC. We have over 120 speakers this year who has been sharing their very valuable insights with us. So before introducing Surtac, I'm just gonna talk about our sponsors. So our presenting sponsor is Unreal Engine. We have gold sponsors MPL, AWS, Glance, and Jungle Games. Legacy silver sponsors GameStone, Lexia, and YesNom. Bronze sponsors Quali, Gameon. Hypertrack sponsors Sunday, and IP Connect sponsor Succeed Innovation Fund. So now, thanks, Surtac, for coming in. It's my honor to introduce you to IGDC and to this track. He'll be talking to us about Headball 1 and Headball 2, how Headball 2 became a multi-million-dollar game. And this is a game I've been playing for years. So, really, really happy to introduce Sartak here. He started his professional journey at EA as a product manager, then joined Zynga as a lead product manager, then moved to Perfect World and Tilting Point as game director. And then right now he's working at Masomo as VP of product, responsible for Headball 2 and Basketball Arena. Headball 2 actually is super popular, especially in India. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys would have played it. It has more than 100 million installs and 1.5 million DAU. Cool. So I will hand it over to Sartak. Before that, just the session format will be 30 minutes plus 10 minutes Q&A, 15 minutes Q&A. You have a Q&A tab there. Please fill in any questions you guys have to the Q&A tab, and that's where we'll pick this up from. And I'll also send a feedback form. Please do fill it, so it helps us to make the conference better. Cool. So that'll be from me. Sartak, you can carry on. Please take the stage.
Okay, thank you so much, Nijo. Thank you so much for the introduction and the invite. It is a great honor to be here, actually. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and then let's just talk about Headball 2. So as Nijo mentioned, the presentation is going to be about like from Headball 1 to Headball 2, how it became a multi-million-dollar mobile game. So regarding the content, I'm going to be talking about like what Headball is about, what we achieved with Headball 1, and what we wanted to achieve with the sequel of it. And then I'm going to be walking you through how we achieved our goals. And finally, I will be taking some questions if you have any. So I'm going to skip this one because Nija already introduced me. So I'm going to be talking about a little bit of Masomo. So we're founded in 2015. We are based in Izmir, Turkey. We have more than 80 employees. It's a pretty young studio with an average age of like 29 years old. And then we were acquired by Miniclip in March 2019. Currently, we are doing all the development and production in-house. And then Masomo, so far, for the last 3-4 years, it's a very profitable company. So regarding Headball, when you look at the game concept, Headball is actually a real-time multiplayer mobile game based on soccer theme, football theme. So you have two characters, you try to score against each other, and then at the end of like 90 seconds, whoever scores the most wins the game. And then you have a very wide variety of characters that you can choose from. In the beginning, when we first launched the game, we had around like 70, 80 characters, but right now we have more than 130 characters. And then while you're playing the matches, you can use superpowers to take advantage against your opponent and then be more advantageous, and then hopefully you'll win the game and then earn some in-game currency. So that's actually all about it, about the Headball concept. So we released Headball 1 back in the days in 2015, and then the game actually lived for like almost 3 years. We had some achievements with Headball 1. Like, for example, we had a total of 40 million in total players. 70% of these installs were organic. more than 1 million daily active users on average. We had pretty decent retention numbers, 55% day 1 and 20% day 7 retention. But what we really lacked was the LTV. We had very low LTV, which actually, unfortunately, disabled our ability to grow the game through paid user acquisition. So with Headball 2, what we wanted to achieve, definitely continue our organic growth, definitely again increase our daily active users and maintain it at least 1 million daily active users. Still keep the existing game mechanic and therefore hopefully maintain the same retention numbers. But most importantly, we wanted to have a higher LTV so that we can scale the game with paid UA in tier 1 countries. So when you look at the market conditions, there's tons of competition in the market. And then when you actually look at the companies who are making more than 5 million US dollars of annual revenue, it is actually very few. So to be actually one of them, we had to increase our LTV. So to increase the LTV with Headball 2, we had to actually do some considerations on what are the components of higher LTV, at least some of them. So when you look at the most important components of higher LTV, the number one thing is monetization and live ops friendly core loop and meta game. The second thing is flexible live ops system. And number 3 is processing of big data. So I will be walking you through all these like 3 big pillars of higher LTV components. So when it comes to the monetization and live ops friendly core loop and meta game, so Headball core loop is pretty simple. You play matches, you get some currencies, you use those, spend those resources and currencies to get better characters. And then as you get your better characters, you increase your rank in the leagues. And then that's actually how the loop is made of. But when you look at this core loop and meta game, the biggest question is it scalable in the long term for both retention and monetization? And the second thing is it live ops friendly? So these are the actual questions that we asked ourselves before working on Headball 2 development. So when you look at the Headball 1, getting the characters, acquiring the characters were pretty straightforward. It was very easy for players to understand because each of these characters had a price tag, and then you see the cost of it, you spend some currency and then get those characters immediately. So like I said, it's very easy for players to understand and could be a good reason why the retention is so good. But the problems were it was lacking monetization depth, and it was also vulnerable against economy inflations, especially in the late game. So what we did was actually we introduced the gacha system into the game, and then in Headball 2, you need to collect cards to unlock the characters. And then you open packs to unlock those characters. So it's a very different mechanic when compared to the Headball 1. So in terms of pros, it definitely has like higher monetization potential, but in terms of the negative sides, it's potentially harder for our target audience to understand, and therefore it could be a retention killer. And the other thing that we did was we made the characters upgradable, and each upgrade actually giving the characters meaningful benefits. So as you upgrade the characters, attributes increase. You also unlock some skill slots, which you can embed new skill cards into these slots, and then get additional skills. And finally, as a makeup cosmetic perspective, you actually get a nice looking, unique look and feel for your characters. So we introduced the character depth when compared to Headball 1. In Headball 1, there was no character upgrade, but in Headball 2, there is character upgrade with meaningful benefits. So for all of those things, introduction of the gacha system and plus the character upgradable upgrade system, we actually made sure that our game is scalable in the long term for both retention and monetization. And when it comes to live ops friendliness, we actually created an illusion. So because we introduced the gacha system, we made the life of the players harder, but we at the same time introduced live ops events and other stuff to actually make their life easier. So we first introduced the difficulty, and then we also introduced the remedies to actually mitigate this kind of difficultness of their life. So for example, you are not able to in Headball 2, you're not able to get those characters directly. You have to open the packs. So you have to actually open a lot of packs to get the characters that you want. But there we actually introduced some limited time live ops events as a free source of acquiring these kind of card packages. So as you progress through the events, you can actually get a lot of card packages for free because you play the game, and then you can actually be more closer to unlocking the characters that you want. And on top of that, we created some shortcuts through personalized bundles so that if you don't want to play the game a lot, if you don't want to grind, you can actually go for like real money purchases and then acquire those characters easily. So long story short, we created an illusion for the players that it is harder for players to acquire those characters, but we also introduced some remedies through live ops events and sales to get those characters in a more shortcut way, an easier way. So we also made sure that our game is actually live ops friendly in the long term. So that was the actually one of the components of higher LTV, making sure that our core loop and meta game is monetization and live ops friendly. So the second pillar of a higher LTV is the flexible live ops system. So we call live ops is actually the art of keeping the game fresh for all segments of players in a personalized way. So the translation of this kind of definition in our game is actually made of three verticals. So when we say live ops infrastructure, which we built in-house, we are not using any third-party system in terms of managing the live ops system. We are talking about actually three different verticals when it comes to our live ops infrastructure. So number one is the game config updates. Number two is limited time in-game events and management. And number three is sales and bundles, store merchandising. So the first vertical, game config updates, is actually made of a lot of different components. But for all those systems actually work properly in a meaningful way, we should at the same time look at the core pillars of Headball 2. So for Headball 2 to work actually in a very meaningful way in terms of KPIs and player satisfaction, we have to make sure that our matchmaking is exciting so that we can create some competitive matches. And at the same time, we can motivate non-payers to become payers. And whenever they became a payer, they should not be regretting their decision. So matchmaking system is the core fundamental of Headball 2. If it fails, then the rest of the systems actually start failing. So we have to make sure that our matchmaking system works perfectly fine. And on top of that, it's the game balancing. In long story short, what it means is actually the effort you put into the game should be well balanced with the rewards so that you can actually spend the time in the game in a meaningful way. And finally, live ops offers, limited time bundles, and etc. is the final pillar of the game. So long story short, again, in summarize, you have to have a super awesome matchmaking system and then a very well designed game balancing system. And on top of that, you have to have those limited time bundles and segmentations and personalizations to actually get the most out of the players in terms of player satisfaction, also revenue and retention. So when it comes to game config updates, we're talking about pricing changes done remotely, progression and difficulty changes done again remotely. All these matchmaking changes that we do, we are able to actually make those changes remotely. And finally, all these efforts you put into the game, and therefore the rewards that you're going to be getting, they are also changed remotely on the fly, thanks to our in-house built remote backend system. So we can make sure that all these things are all these things can be changed remotely through our live ops system. So that's the first vertical of our live ops infrastructure. The second vertical is the in-game events management. So I mentioned previously, we can actually run a lot of different types of limited time in-game events using our backend system on the fly remotely. We can start a new event with leaderboards and some progression milestones. And then at the same time, we can offer some special offers that are tied to these events so that players who want to get the shortcut and progress through the event faster, they can purchase those offers. We can run some tournaments during the weekends, again on the fly, without any client update. And then we can also do some like challenges in the game based on real life matches. And finally, we can also do some like activity based in-game events in the game for like different purposes. So when it comes to segmentation, it's a very important component of our live ops event system because one size fits all doesn't apply because you have a lot of different players in your game. Headball 2, for example, has more than 1 million daily active users. And then those users actually have different requirements and in terms of progression challenges and also in terms of the rewards that they're going to be getting. So we open an event, but on the background, we actually open the same event for 6 different segments with different requirements and difficulties and also with different rewards so that each and every segment of the player base can actually have a very fun moment with satisfying rewards tied to them. Personalization is also another great component of our live ops system. So when you log in the game for some of the events, the rewards that you are going to be seeing might be different might be different for another player because their progression, their requirements, their needs are actually different. So some events rewards are defined based on personalization. And they are again done based on some logics that we run in the background. So that was the limited time in-game events management system. And the third vertical of our live ops infrastructure is the sales and bundles system that we built. So you might ask yourself the question of why we do live ops sales. So there are actually a couple of goals that we want to achieve through our live ops sales system. So number one is definitely increasing the RTAU for early, mid, and late game without cannibalizing the other in-app purchase categories in the game so that we can actually, at the end of the day, increase the LTV. So as you can see in here, a level 10 non-payer offer is actually different than level 40 non-payer offer. We use these offers to increase our RTAU for early, mid, and late game players. The second goal that we want to achieve with our live ops sales, we actually use these live ops sales as like first conversion tool, especially on day 0. For example, whenever a new player comes into the game, we welcome them with a couple of different welcome offers so that players actually see these offers as like unmissable offers that they really will be willing to go for a purchase and then get this offer. And if you look at the data, actually, converting your players on day 0 is quite important to actually achieve a better day 30 ARPU. As you can see on the chart in here, the day 30 ARPU of the players who were converted on day 0 have significantly higher day 30 ARPU compared to players that are converted for the very first time in the upcoming days. So converting those players on day 0 is quite important. So we actually have additional reports to monitor this metric. Like for example, in this chart, you see that actually 50% of our first conversion is happening through the live ops bundle sales, and the remaining 50% is coming from other in-app purchase categories within the game. And when you look at that 50% category, we actually deep dive into it, and then we see which bundles actually drive the first conversion higher than the others. We monitor these metrics on a daily basis to see actually if we are doing a better job of converting the players for the very first time through bundles. And the other goal that we have is to, after converting the players, we want to actually move players to higher transaction value buckets. So as an example in here, on the left-hand side, you see an offer around like $4. And then after you purchase that $4 package, we try to show you the offers that are around like $9 price point. So that after we convert you, we try to move you to higher transaction value buckets so that we can increase the RPPU and therefore get the most out of those more engaged, already became payers players. And also we use live ops sales to find the optimal price point for in-game features. We, for example, introduced a new currency within the game, and then without changing the price points within the game specifically for this currency, we actually test different price points through bundles. And then after that, actually, we apply the optimal price point of this new currency into the game permanently after testing different price points through bundles, because when you are able to test those price points in a more like safe environment, because they are limited time, and it will enable you to test different price points without any players complaints after you change the prices. And then finally, we also use live ops for those bundles to actually create shortcuts during live ops events. Each and every live ops event in Headball 2, or at least like most of them, they are tied to an event character. So if you use the event character during that event, you actually progress much faster compared to other players who are not using the event character. And then you can definitely get those event characters by grinding in the game. But if you really don't have that time, if you have some money in your pocket and then you get those characters in a shortcut way, you can definitely get those event characters through bundles. So these are the ways actually we use live ops to increase the monetization aspect of the game. And when we are running those like live ops sales, we apply various filters for specific targeting. Like for example, we use levels, countries, player divisions, and etc. And at the same time, we use like currency thresholds, last login dates, user ID targeting combined with like RFM tables. We use different price points and etc. based on their win and lose streak, etc. So we try to increase our segmentation possibilities every month to actually get the most out of the players by offering them the right content at the right time at the right price point. So we use a lot of different combination of segmentation to offer the best offer to the players. And then we at the same time make sure that we follow the real life stuff happening actually in the real world so that we can theme the bundles. Like for example, during the Halloween, New Year, and etc., we change the background and art style of the bundles so that we actually make sure that we showcase the players something fresh, something out of ordinary, so that their eyes are actually seeing something new. What we have seen based on all of our tests, even if we showcase the same content, because we actually follow the real life themes, we increase the sales. Those moments, real life moments, actually impact the sales in a very positive way. Like for example, we released a one gem offer. It's super cheap. When the pandemic actually started, we created a bundle during the Valentine's Day. We created a bundle when the winter actually comes with the New Year. We also welcome the summer through summer sales. We do like very region-based offers. Like in Turkey, for example, there's a sacrifice feast. We offer like different offers with different backgrounds. And finally, whenever there's an anniversary for Headball 2, we actually showcase different offers during those times. Like I said, you don't have to change the content. You just change the background. You actually make sure that you follow the real life events happening, and then you increase the sales. So that was the third component of live ops infrastructure. So going back to the big picture, this was all about the flexible live ops system. And the third component of higher LTV is the big data. So big data is actually all about understanding player patterns and taking proactive actions before the things actually happen. So the story of how we evaluate, process the data in Masomo and Headball 2, it actually run through a sort of evolution. At the very beginning, we were just using Excel. The data engineers actually were exporting the data in a raw format, and then the product managers were using the Excel tables to analyze the data and come up with insights. And then in 2017 and 2018, we changed the platform. We started using Redash because we really needed a better data visualization to see the trends without like Excel import, export, kind of all these like hustle. It was easier for product managers to edit reports, but it was difficult for analysts to add new segments to existing reports. Because as I showcased earlier in the presentation, we added a lot of new segmentations into the game to optimize and manage our live ops system. So then your reports should also able to support this kind of um, segmentation so that the product managers, game designers, live ops managers can actually evaluate the data and then come up with like better insights. But after some time, as the requirements actually got bigger and bigger, Redash also started not being enough for us. And that's why we actually started using Atmos and Tableau in parallel so that actually the data that can be democratized for everyone, so that everyone can actually slice and dice the data. It would be super easy for analysts to add segments to the existing reports. So we use mainly Atmos for like ad mediation tool and also some like high level KPI reporting. We use Tableau for like a lot of detailed game economy analysis, progression related analysis, all these like analysis that requires a lot of segmentation. We use Tableau. It actually enables a lot of possibilities for product managers, game designers, and everyone within the company, but it comes with a price, which is it actually is a little bit slow to run the reports because there's actually a lot of segmentation happening in the background with the data filtering. Our data engineers, however, doing a great job in terms of making sure that we get the data super fast. We actually are able to get the data super fast right now, but definitely it's an ongoing process. So that was the third item, processing the big data to actually achieve a higher LTV. So as you guys have seen, there is actually a lot of stuff happening in the background to increase the LTV. More segmentation, more reports, more workforce is actually needed to actually get everything more meaningful and therefore create a better player experience tied with more monetization and more retention. So just to give you an example, the product team size were only like 3 people in 2017 for Headball 2, but right now it is 20 people in 2021, and it's also something similar in 2021 also. And when I say product team, I include product managers, game designers, live ops people, and data team. So there's like 20 people working on the product team to handle the day-to-day operations of Headball 2. So after doing all those things, let's look at like all those additional efforts. Did it work out better or not? So we have reached a total of like 55 million total players. And then we were able to continue our organic growth. So just like Headball 1, Headball 2, like 70% of the installs are coming from organic sources for free, in other words. So it's a check mark. We continued the organic growth. And then when it comes to daily active users, we actually are doing a better job in terms of achieving a higher daily active user. Currently, we are at 1.5 million daily active users. And what is most importantly, we actually increased the ratio of tier 1 countries in this daily active user pool by 45%. So increasing daily active users is one success, but it should be meaningful if you're able to actually increase your daily active users if they are actually coming more from tier one countries. And then when it comes to day one retention, we made the player's life much harder, honestly, to increase monetization. But with the live ops, as I mentioned, we showcase the remedies to the players. And with this kind of balancing, our day one and day seven retention actually didn't get hurt that much, actually didn't get hurt at all, even though we were able to increase our LTV by 5x. So that was actually our goal: maintain the organic growth, still achieve a higher daily active user, still maintain our good day one and day seven retention numbers, but most importantly, increase the LTV. So with all these things that I mentioned, there are definitely more stuff that are being done, but at a very high level, all the things that I mentioned during the presentation, we were actually able to achieve 5x LTV. This enabled us increase the paid UA, paid user acquisition campaigns budgets in tier one countries. And at the same time, it enabled us spending 7-digit monthly marketing budgets on Headball 2. So that is actually, as a summary, we were able to increase the LTV by 5x by maintaining a monetization and live ops friendly core loop and metagame, by building a flexible live ops system with our engineers. It's all in-house built. We are not using any third-party system because our requirements are super complex, super flexible. So that's why we build it all in-house. And then thanks to processing the big data coming from all those players, that enables the data engineers, product managers, game designers, live ops people get meaningful insights from analyzing the millions of players of data. This actually, all those three big components enabled us achieve a 5x LTV. So that's actually all I want to talk about in terms of how Headball 1 to Headball 2, actually how we managed to achieve a multi-million-dollar game. So that was my presentation. I think I finished it right on time. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Satak, so there are a lot of questions you can see in the Q&A panel itself.
Yes, yeah, I'm just looking at them right now.
Cool.
So should I start with these questions in here, Nija?
Yeah, feel free. You can pick up whichever questions you like.
Okay. Okay, because there are some questions on Q&A section and there is some questions on the discuss.
Just look at Q&A.
tab.
Don't look at discuss. Just look at Q&A.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
So the first question is, what's next with Headball? So we're gonna still continue working on Headball 2. We don't have any plans for like Headball 3. That's what I can say, at least for now. So Headball 2 in the next year, it's all going to be about improving the player experience because we put a lot of new features into the game in 2021. So it is actually going to be more about optimizing the in-game features to get the most out of them, and at the same time improve the player experience in 2022. That's the biggest thing that's going to come for Headball. And there will also be like platform expansions for Headball 2. We have plans to expand the business in like new and emerging platforms, and you will be able to hear them very soon. We have plans to expand into new platforms. The other question is, while being focused on live ops and revenue management, how do you focus on user experience and user problems? That's a great question. So that's actually what I meant for by making sure that in terms of the next steps for Headball 2, that's actually what we're going to be focusing on in the upcoming months and years. Because when you prioritize increasing the LTV that much, you actually sometimes deprioritize the user experience and user problems. That's a dilemma. You have to be doing it actually at the same time, but because of some like company strategic goals and stuff like that, you have to prioritize at least one of them. And then we prioritized actually more revenue and retention focused stuff. But like I said, starting from 2022, we will be focusing more on player experience and player problems. Like, for example, in terms of player problems, one thing that we're going to be really focusing on in 2022 is creating a better fair play environment. There are a lot of issues with the fair play environment within the game, and that's something actually we're going to be fixing as a number one priority in 2022. How did your team make sure the controls were right? This is totally related to movement, jump, and loft. Any hidden hacks to make player life easier? So this is actually coming from Headball 1. So we had actually a lot of experience how to make the controls as perfect as possible. So we are actually leveraging a lot of experience in Headball 2 for controller optimization, and that's actually what we are using in Headball 2. And honestly, we have no plans to change the control scheme of the game in the upcoming months and years. And we don't have any hidden hacks to make the player life easier. Some players play the game on computer. It creates a little bit of unfairness, and actually that's what I meant by fair play environment. So we have plans to maybe distinguish the players who are playing on computers versus players who are playing on mobile devices. We are actually thinking about it internally to make some separations when it comes to real player matchmaking. PC version for Headball, yes, that's actually what I mentioned by expanding onto new platforms. We have some works in development, and you will be able to hear it very soon in which platforms actually on PC we are going to be available for gameplay. How to make ads that doesn't irritate players or good place to place ads? That's a great question. So there are two different ad types within Headball 2. One of them are interstitials, and then the other one is rewarded video ads. Interstitials are you cannot control as a player when those will be shown, and then we showcase the interstitials after a match ends. So honestly, from a player perspective, they are a little bit annoying because you don't control when they actually appear, and then you don't get any reward because you are watching those interstitials. So we ran a lot of A/B tests to optimize the frequency and when to show those ads. And what you are seeing in the game right now are the optimal configuration of making sure that we are not damaging the player experience, but at the same time, we are increasing the revenue. So the current configuration within the game when it comes to interstitial ads, this is the optimal for optimizing the player experience and in-game KPIs. And the rewarded video ads, we have a lot of rewarded video ad placements within the game. And then when you watch those, you get something within the game as a reward. They are not forced. It's all up to you if you want to watch those ads. Most of them are 30 seconds long, and after you watch it, you get a reward within the game. So we have a lot of different placements, but what we do is based on the country tier, the frequency of the ads that you are seeing are actually different. So for example, in US, we showcase low number of caps, daily watch limits in US, but in countries like in tier 2 and tier 3 countries, we actually increase the frequency of those rewarded video ads because in tier 1 countries, those players, most of them have bigger wallet size, so they go for in-app purchases. But for countries that have smaller wallet sizes, we actually try to monetize them through ads. And therefore, we show them higher number of rewarded video ads to make up the loss that we have on in-app purchases. So that's actually how it works. In your team, how does collaboration between design and product work? There might be conflicts. Yes, there are conflicts because most of the time product managers prioritize monetization KPIs, and then game designers prioritize retention related KPIs. So there's always a conflict in a healthy way. And I think that conflict should happen between product and game design teams so that actually we don't forget about one of the most important metrics, like for example, retention. So we actually take care of all those two metrics in a more balanced way. So, and at a very high level, the collaboration works in a way that product managers make sure that they define the challenges and opportunities within the game, and they come up with some solutions against those opportunities and challenges, and then work with the game designers to actually balance those features in terms of difficulty curves, in terms of rewards. So the opportunities and challenges are most of the time defined by the product managers, and the solutions are also defined by them. But with a collaboration, of course, the details are done all together. It's not like set in stone. It might change. Sometimes game designers come up with some challenges and opportunities. But what I'm talking about in here is at the very high level, very roughly speaking. How was the current global situation affected the way you handle live ops? Um, any significant changes the data is captured, organic growth, etc. So I call the pandemic moment as actually as like guilty pleasures, because yes, there is a pandemic. Yes, there are a lot of like bad stuff happening all around the world, a lot of death, a lot of issues, a lot of challenges with your real life. But I call it as a guilty pleasure because even though there are a lot of like negative stuff happening all around the world affecting our daily lives, our business actually went really well. That's why I call it guilty pleasure. You feel guilty, but at the same time, it's a pleasure that you are seeing your organic growth is increasing, your revenues are increasing, your retention is increasing. So everything that you can think of in a positive way, they actually happened for the first 1 year of the pandemic. But all of those like crisis moments actually start showing their real face after some time, because of all these like inflation increases, all these like economic issues and problems. Players actually started spending less money to our games as those real life economic challenges actually started happening. So it went super well. It started going down, but if you compare pre-pandemic levels, we are still at a better situation. So we definitely changed our live ops strategy because the players are actually feeling depressed because they are staying at home all the time. And during the presentation, I showcased that we showcased bundles that are like super cheap in the game so that they can actually enjoy the game with through those like live ops bundles so that they can actually enjoy the time that they spent while they are staying at home. So there is a balance between greedy and making sure the players actually feel great moments. So we try to actually balance that in a more careful way during the pandemic. And organic growth increased quite well. And what happened was that whenever there is a new lockdown announced in a country, our organic installs actually started increasing. So if you look at our organic installs charts by country, you can actually easily see that which countries started going in lockdown. Because whenever there's a lockdown announced, our organic growth actually got significantly higher. How to understand whether you are overdoing a task, say to make a certain feature the best and hence getting stuck there instead of moving forward towards launching. It's something we are currently facing as a small indie game team. That's an awesome question. That's a really good question. So what happens is that there will be no perfect scope for any feature. We learned it the hard way by making actually mistakes, by delaying go-to-market scenarios for our features. So you should always be asking the question, if I remove this component of a feature, will the players still be able to enjoy this feature, and will they still be spending some money on this feature? That's the question you should be asking yourself. If you say yes, they can still enjoy the feature, just don't do it. Just leave it for like next iterations, and then go live as soon as possible. Because at the end of the day, even though you have a lot of hypotheses about the success and or expected outcome of that feature, the players decide. And then before showcasing it to the players, you actually have no idea if it's going to work well or not. So ask yourself this kind of question: if this feature will be playable or not without this and this and this component. If your question is yes, then release it, and then make the iterations as as you start collecting data. The one way to actually achieve it is that whenever you release a new feature, don't release it to 100% of your audience. There are a lot of third-party tools in the market right now that enables you to do it. This actually gives you the confidence of releasing a feature with minimum scope. Because if you have to release a feature to 100% of your audience, yes, you have to actually make sure that your scope is completely well done. But if you can release it to 10% of your audience, it doesn't have to be a perfect feature. You collect data and then you iterate, and then you actually start releasing the feature to a wider audience. If you have a tool like this, which I strongly suggest you have, you will actually have a more confidence in yourself releasing that feature. That's how I can answer. I think these are all the questions for now.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Atak. I think you have answered all the questions and we are right on time. Thanks a lot for coming to us and sharing your valuable insights from your headball journey and telling us what failed and what succeeded for you and how you created roadmap, etc. And thanks to the audience also for being part of this and staying late today with us. So thanks everyone for coming in. We had a great session. Thanks, Atak, again. Please do fill the survey from everyone. Thanks a lot, Satak. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the invite. Bye bye.